Autism spectrum disorder is a set of neurodevelopmental disorders characterized by the presence of social and communication symptoms, restricted and repetitive patterns of behaviors and interests, and sensory alterations. It has a prevalence of about 1% in the general population, and it is highly variable in terms of etiology, neurobiology, manifestations, and comorbidities. And it is this high level of variability that hampers our possibilities to detect autism early in development and to develop targeted interventions. And although autism is usually treated as a single unitary category in genetic studies, we know that most genetic liability for ASD lies across different genes that have small and pleiotropic effects. And a recent framework actually suggests that these genes act through early liabilities that interact across development, leading to the emergence of symptoms characteristic of ASD. And these early interacting liabilities can be best described as endophenotypes, which are neuropsychiatric conditions, neuropsychiatric inheritable traits that can be measured continuously across the general population. And currently, there is a huge research effort to identify these endophenotypes, and in particular the stratification biomarkers that can help us identify subgroups among ASD individuals that can ultimately help us to improve prediction, to improve our understanding of the mechanisms underlying the emergence of ASD symptoms, but can also help us develop targeted interventions. This study in particular aims to investigate the association between polygenic liability for ASD and subcortical structure. And we also investigate how comorbidity of ADHD impacts this association. We conceptualize that the small cumulative effects of single nucleotide polymorphisms of common variants affect development of subcortical structures, and how and these subcortical structures ultimately affect the development of behaviors characteristic of ASD, in particular the social traits. And so we test in this study a causal chain whereby genetic liability for ASD impacts subcortical structural development, which is then interlinked to the social traits characteristic of ASD. And this study potentially allows us to identify a stratification biomarker based on genetic liability, and definitely this study will help us understand the association between polygenic liability for ASD, subcortical structures, and the social traits, social behaviors characteristic of ASD.